High-profile actresses Gwyneth Paltrow and Angelina joining the growing chorus of women who say they were sexually harassed or assaulted by Harvey Weinstein. What happens to end this cycle of powerful men abusing those under them? This is the conversation we've been having all morning. Let's see where it goes now. We have a great panel. We have CNN legal analyst Erika Martin, cultural critic and writer Michaela Angela Davis, and Nancy Erika Smith, an attorney who represented Gretchen Carlson, who came forward against former Fox News chief Roger Ailes last year. Great to have all of you and all of your experience here with us this morning. Nancy, let me start with you, because this does feel like we've seen this movie before. This does really, I think, smack of similarities between what happened with Roger Ailes, a mogul, an incredibly powerful, charismatic man who then feels entitled to do whatever he wants with the people under him. In Roger Ailes' case, it was the women. And you don't know that the floodgates are going to open the day before they open. But the day before the dam breaks, it feels like this is going to go on forever, and then the dam breaks.
Yeah, and the dam breaks because we break the silence, we break the secrecy. It's the secrecy that allows it to happen. You and many people have been forced in our country to sign away their rights to a public jury trial, a Seventh Amendment right, so that harassers harass in secret and harass again, and victims are the ones forced to be quiet. And when we're quiet, we don't know that there are other victims. The floodgates open because we're not alone. We can come out, we have sisters, we feel more protected. So a free press, public awareness, and an end to secrecy is the only way to end this.
And all of those are components of culture, right? And that's why do you call out Hillary Clinton and Obama? It's not because they are implicated in what Harvey Weinstein did. It's that every leader needs to step up immediately. That's how you change culture. Now, I want to inject somebody else into the conversation, Michaela, and it has nothing to do with Harvey Weinstein. But Terry Crews, you may know him, big star, big guy. You should go read his Twitter thread. He has over a dozen tweets about something that happened to him, where he says that he was groped at a Hollywood function.
Let me just read two of them, okay? So he says, this whole thing with Harvey Weinstein is giving me PTSD. Why? Because this kind of thing happened to me. My wife and I were at a Hollywood function last year. At a high-level Hollywood executive came over to me and groped my privates.
So he had to make a decision about what to do, and his instinct was to give the person a beatdown. He decided, as a black man,
right,
and as a man, this wasn't going to work out for him, so he decided to just leave. Should this be part of the conversation?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, think of all the negotiations that he had to make in that split second, right? So if genocide and slavery are the United States' original sin, patriarchy is society's original sin. When you see this imbalance of power, where 50% of the population, who are women, have so little equity in all these, whether it's Hollywood or college campuses or the Catholic Church, you see how it manifests itself. And it's not only to women. So in that moment, Terry Crews had to negotiate violence and racism and sexism, and what would the headline say in the morning?
What if you were a white man?
In front of his wife.
What if you were a white man and he had, how would it change the calculus?
I contend if he was a white man, it wouldn't have happened. There is a feeling of ownership over black male bodies by people in power, whether you're the NFL or Hollywood, that they are there for your entertainment. And so he's able to grab him because he's, that's a commodity. Well, so black male bodies are much more of a commodity than a white male body.
Though I will say, I do know several white guys, they're gay, who have also had this experience where a powerful mogul comes up and tries to do whatever they want with them. But again, I mean, I think the point here is that it does happen to men, too. It's about power, okay? So it's so shocking.
But it happens way
much less. Of course, of course. Yeah. I mean, I agree. But I think that sometimes we overlook the idea that it's about power and abusing somebody who's subservient.
And it was very,
different power imbalance.
And it was very, very courageous of him, because he's known for making his pecs dance, right? Like this is and he's a lovely guy.
He's
a nice guy, but if it can happen to him, imagine if you're a young actor.
Oh, all of it. But Erika, let's talk about what this means for Harvey Weinstein. Some of these things happened beyond the statute of limitations. Some of them didn't. Some of them...
In New York, there is no statute of limitations.
Well, there you go. So he is reportedly checking himself into a rehab for sex addiction. Can he be prosecuted?
Oh, absolutely. I think we haven't seen the last of this, both potentially civil lawsuits that may be filed against him personally, as well as against the company, as well as potential criminal allegations that may be made against him. I think for me, what's been so troubling about this case, even as horrifically repulsive as the Bill Cosby allegations is, we have this big company, the Weinstein Company. We have 16 employees that were in that New Yorker article that said they either witnessed or had direct knowledge of this. Under federal law, these companies have an obligation to investigate claims of sexual harassment. They don't get to turn their heads. They don't get to ignore it. They had an affirmative obligation to take steps to investigate sexual harassment and to make the workplace safe for women. And they failed in their obligation to do so. So I'm really disturbed about not just the individual conduct of Harvey Weinstein, which is repulsive, but the conduct of the people that were obligated by law to take action, and they didn't.
The law is often not enough, though, right? I mean, that's what we see here with Cy Vance, the district attorney from Manhattan. The tape that we're hearing with the young actress in this really ugly conversation with Harvey Weinstein out in the hallway, that was part of a sting operation.
Yeah.
It's not that easy to make the criminal case. It's not that easy to go after a corporation for an arbitration clause. That's why it's got to be more about culture, doesn't it, than just law?
No, I believe we need both. The law should not allow secret arbitration clauses, secret corporate courts that take away our Seventh Amendment rights. We really should not be forced to give up our Seventh Amendment rights to a jury trial in order to work. And the law can make corporations take responsibility, and it's supposed to, but it doesn't when they're the powerful. And most sexual assaults don't take place with a witness or with the perpetrator on tape. So I disagree that the reason that Harvey Weinstein wasn't prosecuted was because there wasn't enough evidence.
Then what was it?
Yeah. It was powerful white men with a lot of juice, get away with all kinds of stuff. In our criminal justice system, if it was a black man, I believe he would have been prosecuted.
But Cy Vance would have had to prove an intent. Which is always hard to do in the law and hard under these circumstances as well.
A man forces himself to touch your breast
I hear your case.
and then admits it on tape. That is an assault.
I hear your case. What I'm saying is it's got to be more than the law because of everything that you're saying right now.
Yes, I agree.
And until you have it where from top down, you know if you're a powerful man, you will not be protected. People will come after you if this happens. You will be called out. And not just about the victims, Michaela, because it puts too much pressure on the most vulnerable person in the equation.
That's right. And obviously, there are a lot of laws in place that aren't protecting people. It is also the activism. I think what you were saying now, that women have found a collective voice. Look at what happened in Washington. The largest demonstration in history happened because women came together and said, enough. And we're continuing to do that. I mean, even if you look at other Hollywood figures like Ava DuVernay, she is so generous in showing, look at all these women I hired, look at my directors, look at my squad. Women tend to be more inclusive and generous and showing you how we work together. The opposite is true with this male power. Again, it is really this gross imbalance of power that we're now challenging. And women aren't afraid because we have each other and we have Twitter.
Yeah, well, Nancy, I want to go back to you for a second. Because you and Gretchen successfully sued Fox, and that started the House of Cards falling of Roger Ailes very quickly, much like this Harvey Weinstein thing, how fast, once it happens, they go down.
Yes.
But you obviously have to, as you said, jump off a cliff and be willing to do that. For women out there who say, how are you supposed to battle a powerful man if I don't have lots of money for a high-priced attorney? What is the answer today?
Well, the answer is go to an attorney, and a lot of us aren't high-priced. We get paid at the end when we succeed, and going to attorney is essential because the other problem is HR is compromised. HR is often not your
ally,
friend. No, they're your enemy, and they're going to report, and then they're going to help retaliate against you. And in corporate legal departments, they're making women sign away their rights to speak in exchange for, and give up their careers in exchange for some money. In these cases, $100,000,
right,
a paltry sum of money after you've been assaulted. It's really outrageous. We need corporate boards to take responsibility. We need corporate boards to have committees that HR and legal report to.
Well,
Women on those boards.
right.
Yes.
Right.
And
Right.
also,
That's
if they
all
knew,
male.
Ariva, let's end with you on this, especially just in terms of corporate responsibility. You were right to point out the federal guideline, but it's about the bite that's involved. Piercing the corporate veil is a phrase that all lawyers know and citizens doesn't make sense to know. But if you went after the people who knew what was going on, this would change a lot faster, true or no?
It would change very quickly, Chris. Swift and severe consequences for the perpetrator of the harassment and then those that were complicit in covering it up. And I think that's what the message needs to be today, that any corporate board member, any corporate executive that's turning the other way, you too may find yourself liable in a civil lawsuit facing severe damages, but you also may face some other penalties. And I think that's the message we want women to know. Come forward, speak up, and hold people accountable in these jobs who are protecting these harassers so that women can be safe in the workplace. That's a key thing here.
On that note, Ariva Martin, Nancy Erika Smith, Michaela Angela Davis, thank you very much for the great conversation.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Allison.
Thank you.
Thanks.